As you know, we have entered December, which marks the beginning of the Christmas season, and this is a whole journey that we go on from now until the 25th of December. Just to be clear, Christmas is the celebrating the birth of Christ. We were trying to explain it as Jesus Jayanti. You have Buddha Jayanti, Krishna Jayanti, Jesus Jayanti. It seems only fair. And so there are many ways in which we can approach this season and approach the life of Jesus. And in fact, one thing to start with is that the life of Jesus, Christmas, was very important to Yoganandaji. And so it was a very big season for him. And not just because he was in America and it was sort of cultural that, oh, everybody's, it's Christmas all around, so we might as well get into the spirit. I'd like to approach it today from the point of view of disciples of this path. That people who are connected to this line of teachings, and if you're not a disciple of this path, it's perfectly fine, but you certainly have a connection with these teachings, the teachings of Yogananda and so on. And so the point to remember is that this connection to, this relationship to Jesus, to Christ, is very personal, actually. I don't mean necessarily it's felt personally in the heart. That's up to each one of us to develop with all the masters according to our own inspiration. But the fact that we are all sitting here is, how did that come about? Well, we know we have this center. We know that Swami Kriyananda had said that we should have an Ananda center in Chennai, and that's how this center ultimately came about. But Swamiji, of course, was a disciple of Master, and Master had trained him for spreading his mission all over the world. And so you can say in a way that Master sent Swamiji to us. It's not wrong to say that. And then at the same time, we can say, well, but Sri Yukteswar sent Master to the West. And, well, why did he do so? Because, he was, of course, a disciple of Lahiri Mahashaya, but Babaji told Sri Yukteswar that he would send him a disciple for training. And so that disciple was Master, so Sri Yukteswarji said. So you could say, in a way, that Babaji sent Swami Kriyananda to the Music Academy, and here we have all of this, the center and our gathering here today. But even more than that, why did Babaji even start this work? As it says in the Festival of Light, and as Babaji told Lahiri Mahashaya, as Swamiji wrote it, high in the Himalayas, eyes filled with divine love, Jesus appeared to the great Master Babaji. The lights on the high altar, he said, the lights on the high altar of my church, he said, have been growing dim, though still lit on lower altars of good works. The noble taper of inner communion with the Lord burns low and is ill attended. Let us together, united in Christ's love, set lights ablaze on that high altar once again. And so it was really Jesus. And this is the way Babaji told it. Babaji didn't say, I had a good idea, and I took it to the committee, and Jesus said, I second the motion, so it's really a joint venture. It's not the way he told it, which he really could have. Everyone's one in God, and they really can act as one, being in tune with the divine plan. He could have easily said, it was the divine will that we work together and all that, but it isn't how he put it. He said Jesus appeared to him. And that was the initiation, the initiation of this work. That spark was the beginning of this whole mission, which has, of course, reached throughout the world, reached into many people's lives, has shed new light on different religions, but also has brought us to this room. You see, we can think of the work of the avatars in a grand scale. As grand as this planet, and after all, this planet isn't all that grand. It's only one planet at one star. It's actually quite small, but from our perspective, it's big. And yet, from that, we can also look at it very personally. It's easy when something is vast and grand to sort of feel unrelated to it, or not. That doesn't really. It either doesn't matter to me or I don't matter to it because I'm just one member of the party and nobody really cares. It's only the big bosses and so on. Or we think in terms of movements of consciousness and so on. And again, it's all very abstract. And I'd like to bring it to the more personal. So again, whenever you're grateful for something on this path, remember how it all started. Jesus appeared to the great Master Babaji. There's something very personal in that. And so having a relationship with these great masters who are avatars, they do have a world mission, and yet they also come for each one of us, their disciples. I was thinking it's a little bit like if your father or mother is the president of a company or something like that. To everybody, you know, he's a big man. And you're maybe aware of the world mission that the gurus have. And it is relevant to us if we are going to assist and do whatever small part we can do to help them in that work. But at the same time, your father, the president, is also your father or your mother, and that you have that relationship too. And so it's important to remember that aspect of it too. Whatever grand world work there is, there's also a very intimate and personal interest in you, you see. And so I wanted to share an episode from the life of Christ with Yogananda's commentaries on it. And it's a very special story. And so the topic for this week is, what is it to fail spiritually? And this is not the Bible reading and the Bhagavad Gita reading for that, but it's a related story in a way. So the Bible says, Jesus left Judea and departed again into Galilee, and he must needs go through Samaria. So if you look at the geography of this, it's basically the equivalent of Jesus left Tamil Nadu and departed again to Orissa, and he must needs go through Andhra. You see, these are different countries in the land, and so it's sort of like if you're wanting to go from here to there, you have to pass through the one in the middle. And so it is often understood it can be understood in the Bible that there's something that happens on the journey. There's something that happens in Andhra or Samaria in this case. So it's sort of like, well, how did he come to Samaria? Well, you know, he was on the road. He was on his way, passing from A to B, is often how it's understood. Then he cometh to the city, a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now again, if you're not familiar with the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph, just think of it as, you know, the site where Arjuna trained Abhimanyu or something like that. You see, in other words, it's the same kind of setting where there's lots and lots of history, lots and lots of spiritual tradition in the place. And so you could say, here is the site of Arjuna's penance. We had lunch near where Arjuna did his penance. You know, it's amazing in this same land how much history and deep spiritual history can accumulate. So this is the same thing. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied from his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away into the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. And so, again, as Master explains in other contexts, this was a very strong cultural divide. In fact, he explained it as a caste division, that from the point of view of the Jews, they wouldn't even speak to the Samaritans. These were like untouchable people, very low caste people, and they certainly not only wouldn't speak to them, but they wouldn't ask them to give them water. Imagine, if you can, some kind of similar system like that. Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that says unto you, Give me to drink, thou would have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. We'll come back to that quote. So, why Jesus needed to go to Samaria? Again, it's just on the way from A to B, right? And Master writes, it is evident that Jesus, like all great prophets, reincarnated at the same time as his great disciples of past lives. Jesus brought along with him his 12 disciples. They had qualified themselves in past incarnations, and so were fit to be the close disciples of Jesus in his inner circle. As has been shown in a previous chapter, John the Baptist was the guru of Jesus in a former incarnation, and Jesus acknowledged him as such by saying, "This is the way of all righteousness," meaning that the ultimate path of righteousness can only be found by following the directions of the guru, or the vehicle chosen by God to bring the devotee disciples to his kingdom. When one has spasmodic desires to know God, he meets spiritual teachers. But when one wholeheartedly wishes to know the Almighty, God chooses the spirituality and intelligence of a human guru to bring the devotee unto him. Jesus knew the difference between disciples of a past incarnation and those who came to him for the first time for enlightenment. However, the betrayal of Judas, who was another of Jesus' disciples, the one who betrayed him, shows that even close disciples of a great master like Jesus are by no means completely perfect. That is why the Guru Preceptor has to come back on earth voluntarily until all his disciples become liberated. The soul of the Guru Preceptor and the soul of the disciple enter into an everlasting covenant of friendship, that they will come back on earth for one another until both souls are finally redeemed. Sometimes the real Guru Preceptor, instead of coming on earth, appears in vision to redeem the disciple. It's beautiful, too, to think of the Guru-disciple relationship also as one of friendship. Because, of course, from the disciple's point of view, we think more, perhaps, from the point of view of a child, that I need help. And so when I come on earth, you better be there and help me and keep me from running into traffic and getting into all these troubles. And that is a valid and good way to look at the relationship. But at the same time, it's helpful to see it also as friends. Let us come together again and again. And you might think, well, that I can certainly, again, see it from my point of view, but what about from the Guru's point of view? What does he need from me? Sister Gyanamata, who was Master's most advanced woman disciple, when she was near the end of her life, she said to Master, I don't want to come back, basically. I don't want to ever come back to this planet. And Master said, you won't come back with me and help me? And she said, I'll be happy to come back and help you, Master. It appears that Jesus purposely planned to go to Samaria and sat on Jacob's well, and knowingly asked the low-caste woman of Samaria to give him a drink. The Samaritan woman was a morally lost disciple of some past incarnations, whom Jesus came to redeem. Her truthfulness, while admitting the fact, this is going to another part of the story, but she was truthful. He asked her, go fetch thy husband. She said, I have no husband. And he said, it's a strange part of the story, but he said, you have spoken truthfully when in fact you've had 5 husbands. And so this concept of 5 husbands is, such a shock. How could she have had 5 husbands sequentially? And so it was that she was saying that in truth, I'm not touched by this. I'm not even married to any one of them, but in fact, my soul is connected to you. And so it's funny because she said, I have no husband, and he said, you've had 5 husbands and you've spoken the truth. Well, no, if she'd spoken the truth, she would have, but she spoke the deeper truth. Untouched by whatever I've done in the past, I am really with you, with God. So, he asked her for a drink in order to get acquainted with her while the disciple... Oh, no, I missed the wrong... Here we are. Okay. Her degradation was temporary and lay like a clay crust over the hidden glow of her pure, truth-loving soul. Jesus knew no artificial race barrier as the woman of Samaria understood it, and therefore he asked her for a drink. He also asked her for a drink in order to get acquainted with her when the disciples were gone, so that he could give her the everlasting elixir of life without disturbance. And so you see, it's so sweet, at least when I first understood Master's interpretation of this, that it says in the Bible he needed to go through Samaria on his journey. And Master said in another commentary, this deep reason why he needed to go to this one city in this one town was for this one woman, for this one disciple. It wasn't an accident. They weren't on the road saying, where shall we stop? Oh, they look like they have good idlis there. Let's go there. It wasn't random. It wasn't just going for tiffin. It was, there is someone there who may be ready to be awakened. That's the other side of it. He didn't come the way it's put, as Master put it, knowing that she was ready. Here, let me just grab you. Let's go. I mean, Jyotishji had that experience with Swamiji. There was an instant recognition between them, this sense of friendship, which of course was lifelong. And Seva, who was, you could say in some ways, the second member of Ananda, she also felt the same way with Swamiji. She said as soon as he walked in, she felt, there he is. And he said he felt the same way. He saw her in the crowd and said, oh, there she is. And, you know, these conversations are basically like, hello, so nice to see you again. What's your name in this life? You know, we may have that experience here in our own ways too. But Jesus very specifically, having this grand mission, this world work, this whole thing, went to this one town just for her. Master said something like that too, in the sense that there was a disciple who came to him near the end of Master's life, and he said, I saw you for the first time 20 years ago in the town of Boston. And he said, throughout that whole lecture, the strange feeling I had is that your eyes were fixed on me the whole time. And Master said, I remember. You see, and we don't even know. Maybe Master gave that lecture that night in that town and looked just at him because he knew he was trying to help him. And if the others came and went or got something, that would be wonderful. But he came for that one. And so think about that too in terms of how Jesus and the Masters have come for each one of us, for you specifically. Jesus hinted to the woman of Samaria when he said, if thou knewest the gift of God and who it is that said to thee. Jesus was hinting that God had gifted her in previous incarnations with the greatest of all gifts, a divine Savior or Guru, who had followed her to this life to redeem her. Jesus was trying to awaken the dormant memory of the past in his fallen disciple. Thus, Jesus meant that if she knew that her Guru of the past was asking for the drink, she would instead have asked him for the living water of God's contact. And that's how it is for us. You know, we pick up Autobiography of a Yogi and say, oh, it's a nice book. My uncle said it was good. Maybe I'll read it in 10 years or something like that. We hear that a lot at the level 1 class, you know. My uncle had this book. It's always an uncle, never an aunt, never a father, always an uncle. I don't know why. But an uncle had the book, and it was just there, and I saw it, and finally one day it fell off the shelf and hit me on the head, and I still didn't read it, and, you know, on and on and on. So finally I read it. Okay. Then we get the other, you know, the opposite story. I just finished reading the book and then came to this class immediately. So we all have a different journey that way, but it's the right timing, no matter when the timing is. However, we see, like I saw, the cover of Autobiography of a Yogi, and I already was introduced to Ananda and this path, but just barely. Meaning I had a context for, you know, this is Paramhansa Yogananda and this is his Autobiography of a Yogi. I was attracted to the picture, but I didn't have an instant recognition. I didn't, you know, remember all past lives. But Master, it was the same way when I met Swamiji. I was very inspired. I felt a strong connection, but I didn't know how deep that relationship went. That became clear over time and deepened over time. But the gurus don't see it that way. They see us and they know how close we are to them. They know how close they are to us. So they Master peeps at us through the book, just as he was peeping at Swamiji. Swamiji went to the bookstore and he was looking for books in the Indian philosophy section when he was a young man. And then he said, I looked again at the shelf and saw a book that I hadn't noticed the first time, with its cover facing outward. And the face was attractive and strangely familiar. You see, so that is so often the disciple's experience. But the guru's experience is Master in the thing going, psst, psst, over here, trying to get our attention, because he knows that we're this close to him. But you see, he will never force. Again, maybe the book will fall off and hit us on the toe or something. But other than that, whenever you even hear Master, when you read his words, when you connect with Swamiji like in a video or something, remember, he's seeing you in that true proportion of that friendship, that true depth of connection. So for us, it's just the first day, or we're getting used to everything and so on, but it wasn't so for Jesus and this disciple either. You see, again, it's very much they're trying to help ones. Thousands of people can be uplifted generally. And there's no limit. Anyone who opens their heart to God can find him. So there's no restriction on the club, or, there's only room for a few. It's not that way at all. But it always ends up being that way. I don't know why. We'll have to take that up with God. As one of my math professors used to say, not my fault, complain up there. Whenever there was some inconvenient fact of mathematics. We wish everyone would be drawn to God in whatever way suited to them. But it always ends up being, as Krishna said, 1 out of 1,000. So, going on with the story, the woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence, then, hast thou that living water? You see, she's still understanding him literally. He's saying, if you knew who was asking you for a drink, you would say, give me a drink of living water. And she's saying, how can you give me a drink? You don't even have a cup. So where are you? And you can't just reach into the well and get some water. So what are you talking about? Then she says, Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting life. Master says, the woman of Samaria, steeped in ignorance, could not yet understand what Jesus meant by living water. There was an Aramba wanting to also say something in the microphone, apparently. Yeah, but he's on his way. Yeah, but I think he's heading south.
No.
This one? Are there two? There's two of them? Yeah, because there was one there. Yeah. He's still going down. Just stay away from the toes. Okay. So, the woman of Samaria steeped...
He climbed all the way up to the microphone and was spinning around.
Checking it out. And then said, no. Ida vendam. The woman of Samaria, steeped in ignorance, could not yet understand what Jesus meant by living water. Hence her foolish question, From whence then hast thou the living water? Jesus, to elucidate what he meant by living water, said in effect that whosoever drinks of the material water will live by material food only and will die with that consciousness. He will have to reincarnate again due to the presence of material desires accompanying the soul after death. To die, depending on material water and food, will bring the soul back to earth again because of the latent thirst for material things in the heart. Jesus said that whosoever drinks of the fountain of eternal bliss in God will have all the thirst of desires of all his incarnations quenched forever. Such God-drinking souls, finding the everlasting well of bliss within themselves, are never thirsty for the satisfaction of mortal desires or mortal life. Mortal desires promise happiness and then always give sorrow instead. This was something that Master would say too of Maya, and Swamiji said, quoting him, "The one thing that delusion is consistent in is that it always breaks its promises." And it's a very helpful and deep teaching. And it is an instant answer to that suffering that we feel in the heart because of some outward disappointment. Some friend misunderstands us. Something that was coming to save us suddenly doesn't work out. Any kinds of things like this where we feel like, oh, if I just had this one little thing, now I can finally relax, and then we're deprived of that. And to feel that frustration. Just remember, outward satisfaction that is promised is always a lie. That we have an inward satisfaction, that's the only lasting one. Then, whether things go well or not, we have that inward satisfaction. It isn't that we, don't seek to do good in this world or don't try to work to get our scene better together, or try to resolve that misunderstanding with the friend in order to have more harmony. But we say, either way, I'm seeking that eternal well of water in my heart so I can always drink wherever I go. I don't have to be fed from anyone or anywhere else. Another way we've put it is when you feel, how do you feel unconditional love? What is it like? It's like having just eaten and then walking around visiting people and you're not looking for food from them. I'm full. I just had all the dosa I wanted, and so I'm not going to ask you, can I have one more little sort of vada or some little pav bhaji or some, no, because I'm full, I'm fine. So I'm not needy. I'm not seeking, because there isn't that hunger. There isn't that emptiness in my stomach pushing me. Similarly, there's not an emptiness in my heart pushing me to try to fill it with love from others, from people outside, and so on. That my heart is full, a well that's overflowing, that any time I need to connect with that, I can take a little nip. As Master said, be a spiritual alcoholic, drunk with God, he said...
I'm sorry, there's another bug right here. It's bug day. This is the kind you don't want to have in your home.
Ah, I see.
It's a baby.
Yes. May you prosper elsewhere.
Yeah. Sorry about the interruptions.
So, feeling that spring of love in the heart. But where does it come from? It comes from the divine. It's from the same source. It's always from the same source, the one source. The soul cannot find its lost happiness in material things, though it seeks comfort in them. The soul, losing its contact with God bliss, tries to satisfy itself by pseudo-sense pleasures. The soul of even the most worldly person is inwardly conscious of its lost supernal bliss, and that is why it can never remain satisfied for long with temporary sense pleasures only, no matter how alluring they may be. The worldly man goes on searching for his lost happiness in God by flying from one sense pleasure to another. At last, when he suffers from satiety, he begins to seek God bliss within, where alone it can be found. I'm reminded in saying this, a friend of mine was telling me that after a lecture, one of the lectures that we've had at Ananda Sangha, someone came up to him and said, but these people are saying all the things we already know. And, it's all just to seek it within. And my friend stifled his reply, which was, yes, but are you seeking? You see, it's sort of like, I know where to find joy, it's in. The Vedas even say so. Okay, are you going within? Are you looking for it? It's not enough to know where to go, to know what the right thing is to do. And again, I'm not pointing the finger at that person. What about for us? We know what the right attitudes are that bring joy. We know what the wrong attitudes are. Are we putting them into practice? there is that same motivation, that hunger that motivates us to eat. That's a spiritual hunger that motivates us to find more peace, to find ultimately freedom in God, because we've had enough of the other and we want this. It's that desire that pushes us to act. And so if you have that desire, if you are consciously seeking God on this path, be very grateful, because that hunger that fuels your search, although I don't know if hunger can fuel something, because hunger is an absence anyway, never mind, that drives your search, that is something that we can't teach. It's not something that can be imparted. It's something that has to have been developed within yourself, that desire. Because until the desire is there, nothing can happen. I had that experience in the opposite way. Someone said to me, you have all the ingredients to be a great success in business. You have the analytical skills and the people skills. You have it all to be hugely successful. Everything, I said, everything except one thing, desire. And he said, because he was really wanting me to do that. But it was, in fact, it was a relative of mine, yes. Just, if there's no desire, nothing happens. Okay? So if you have that desire for God, it's a great, precious gift, and it's something to celebrate, something to cultivate, something to even congratulate yourself if you're thinking to be critical of yourself. Just say, I know that I want God, and that's enough. It's enough, meaning on one level. Then the other side of it is, as Master said, go after God. You know, as he often said, there are many rats and mice living in the canyon here around the ashram. They are not advancing spiritually just because they're living on the property. And so there are both sides to this. But the main thing is, if we have the knowledge of where to go, let's go there. If one loses a diamond, Master says, and tries to satisfy himself with little pieces of broken glass shining with sunlight, he is bound to be disillusioned. He cannot find the diamond in the pile of broken glass. He is seeking in the wrong place, and so can never be happy until he seeks in the right place and finds the diamond. In the same way, the soul tries to find its happiness in the momentarily glittering sense pleasures, but when it has enough of sense happiness, it becomes disgusted and tries to find peace and joy in the soul. And Master would often use that phrase, or at least he used it one other time, don't seek smiles where the smiles don't come from. You see? So it's the same way. If you're looking for a diamond in a pile of broken glass, Master says, he is seeking in the wrong place and so can never be happy until he seeks it in the right place, which again helps us when we have disappointment, seeking smiles where the smiles don't come from. The next time you are in a situation and there is not a smile, but a frown, because even though I was perfect in my behavior and extremely nice and didn't do one single thing wrong, that person was unfair and unkind and rough and mean. And it may even be true. But still, it's just telling us that the smile we were hoping to get from them, or that they were going to give to us, isn't coming from them. We have to seek it elsewhere. In fact, God may be just behind that person saying, I wanted to see if you could smile through this. Because if you can smile through this, you can smile through anything. You see, it's not just that, okay, I'll give up the joy, I'll give up the desire to have joy and fulfillment in this situation. Fine. It's not the full teaching. The full teaching is that if we can find joy and fulfillment, despite this mistreatment or this unfair circumstance, and sometimes they can be very harsh, if we can find joy in this one thing, then we can find joy perhaps in other difficult things too. As I've told some of you before, I went through a situation which for me was the hardest thing I ever thought I would have to face, meaning I dreaded such a thing that it would ever happen. It was my biggest fear. And then it happened. And then it was horrible. And then the sun came up the next day, and, I had to eat something for breakfast after all, and I noticed the sky hadn't fallen. The building wasn't on fire, and in fact, I lived through it. It was a little bit difficult. I got a little roughed up. It took about a year to fully make peace with the whole thing. But it was my worst fear, and then it happened. So then I had to wonder, gosh, I'm not afraid of it anymore. Because I realized you can live through such a thing. You can survive. So I had to now say, what's my second greatest fear? Because I've lost my greatest fear, so I have to promote the next one. No. If you go through your worst one, it applies to the others to some extent too. Now, I'm aware of the God saying, "Oh yeah, I'm not tempting the Lord here." You may get, you didn't even know you should be most afraid of this. But in any case, the thing is, each test we face, each victory we achieve, helps us in a far-reaching way. And so, in fact, Swamiji pointed out once, a lot of our troubles come from just one or two wrong thoughts. Meaning that sort of when you have this difficulty with this person or that difficulty with that person, you can often find that it's related just to the same thought. It always keeps coming up in the same way. Like, I'm wanting my happiness to come from you. And there was, in fact, maybe one person early in my life who was a great disappointment to me that way. Maybe even our parents, for example, just meaning because that's a long relationship. And so we had this wrong expectation. And so whenever it happens again, we're disappointed all over again. But it really comes to the same one or two little thoughts. He said you'll find most of your difficulties, when you get behind them, they'll boil down to just the same thought. And if we correct that thought, or as we can correct that thought, then we can really move forward in a big way. And part of moving forward on the spiritual path is struggling with that. I don't want to give the misimpression that this is the one thing holding us back, and until we fix it 100%, we're not moving at all. It's not that way. Any little movement, grappling with some of these challenges, gives us strength. One guru told his disciple, I want you, when he came for training, before initiation, I want you to try to move that rock. And this was a big rock, sort of, just barely sticking out of the earth. He said, it's inconvenient and it's in the way. So the disciple tried to move the rock, but it was way too heavy. It was stuck there. And so he tried to get some kind of a, metal thing and get under it, but it was too deep. He couldn't get under it. He tried to start breaking it up into pieces so he could try to move it. He couldn't break it. And he finally just came to his guru defeated and in dismay and said, I failed. And the guru said, what are you talking about? I didn't ask you to move the rock. I asked you to try to move the rock. He said, look how strong you've become through all of your daily efforts in struggle, physically, just with the body, in trying to accomplish this. And it hasn't moved at all. But see how you have changed. You see, that's another way for us to look at our tests. It doesn't much matter the outcome of the test. It doesn't much matter whether we succeed or fail outwardly. It matters what we become through that success and failure. We can have a great success and learn nothing and then just have to do it all over again. We can have a great failure and learn from it and then just be free in God. Remember, that's the ultimate success, is to graduate from the school. This is why we're not trying to make a perfect school on earth. Master said the point of... Sorry, I'll let this conversation happen. Okay. So Master said the point of being on earth is not to perfect the earth any more than the students in the school are expected to perfect the school. Why? Your goal is to get out. It's sort of like, finding yourself in prison and saying, well, let's paint the walls at least. And, it's okay. If we're going to be there for some time, we can paint the walls. But then to think about if we could oil all the hinges that would cut down on the sound every time the gate is slammed in my face and so on. Just get out of the place. It's not our home. This world is not our home. Remember that. Anytime. Remember Swamiji and Master were at the lake shrine and these bugs were flying around and getting in their eyes and faces and so on, and they were like little tiny bugs. I don't know that we have them here. And Swamiji said, "Why, Master, in this beautiful place are these insects here pestering us?" And it's because otherwise it was a beautiful scene. And Master said, it's God's way of keeping us moving toward Him. So whenever some bug gets in your eye or some bug gets in your heart, just say it's God's way of reminding me this world is not my home. I have a home. It isn't that we have no home, it's just not here. Don't seek the smiles where the smiles don't come from. Seek them from where they do come from. And then you'll have them all the time. Master, this is the last thing Master says. This is the supreme reason why people should seek happiness in God and not in material things. It is foolish to expect true happiness from material things, for they are powerless to give it. And yet many millions of people die of broken hearts, trying vainly to find the comfort in material things, which God alone can impart in the temple of meditation. And so, just to have this last thought too, when a friend of mine got a new carpet and she loved the carpet. It was not Dharmini. She loved the carpet. It was so beautiful. And after it was put in, she was walking around just testing her feet in the carpet. It was not this carpet. And she thought, I just love this carpet. And then she realized that the carpet did not love her. And furthermore, the carpet had no ability to love her. And so remember that too. Sometimes we're trying to work it out with someone, and if they would just behave in such a way to give us this, and after 1,015 tries, we're saying, okay, lucky number 1,016. I hope it works this time. And then sometimes we have to understand it may be that that person isn't capable of giving us the friendship that we want. God is capable, and God will reimburse your friendship energy somewhere else, maybe through a different channel. It isn't that any effort to offer friendship is ever lost. It may not come back from that same person, though. And again, they may just not be capable at this time. I don't mean permanently incapable, but it just maybe it's a karma, but it may not be able to happen. So rather than thinking, they have all the friendship, and they could be very nice and kind if they wanted to, but they are withholding it. Saying, maybe it's just not trying to happen. Maybe I'll just concentrate on what I can give, and then I'll seek my friendship elsewhere. You see? And lest we think that, but this is just talking about struggles with family members or friends or something like that. I mean, is that really such a big deal on the spiritual path? Remember when Buddha had a disciple who said, Master, I am soaring in God, I am nearly there. And Buddha said, that's wonderful to hear. Why don't you go home and visit your parents? Because that would be the ultimate test of how soaring in God you are. You see? And so the last thing to remember again is that, just to emphasize, though the masters have a grand mission, they also have a heartfelt particular mission for you. Just for you. Just for each one of us. And I mean, I really, because I can say that, but each one of us sounds like all of us. I mean, you and you and you and everyone. You see? Swamiji, when he was in an airport about ready to leave the country, was asked by someone, what would you say was your most significant accomplishment of your time here in this country? He had been in the U.S. for a few months. And Swamiji first said, the lectures that I gave. Then he said, the books. He said, especially demystifying Patanjali, because he said he had just finished writing that book. He said, because books are more lasting than lectures. But then he went on to say, he said, but I also visited our communities. I also was able to write the movie script and meet with the movie people. He said, everything is important. Being with you all is important. I can't say that one thing is more important than that. You see? So that these books, these other works that he did will last far into the future. and one could see them as a part of his mission. But he said, and we were there, by meaning his same meeting, he said to us all, being with you all is important. And it was very sweet because it was the last time we saw him. Because then he went to India, and that was our last time together with him. And so the masters are saying to you constantly, being with you is important to me. And they are seeking our attention. They are eager to spend time with us. They're always waiting, maybe with a little snack or something, saying, please come, sit, spend time with me. We can sometimes feel that we're praying, we're asking for help, we're not getting any help, we're having to suffer and struggle, and where are they? Well, they're busy at Haranya Loka. Maybe there's a big conference or something, and we weren't invited. It's not that way. They're sitting, as Master said, God is throbbing in your own heart, right here, and He's calling each one of us home. God bless you.
I think at times when you see so many people coming, there can be a feeling in people's hearts like, oh, it's going to get too crowded here or too many people. But just remember that in a crowd of souls that actually are your spiritual brothers and sisters, it doesn't feel that way. You'll encounter a lot of new people that might come and go. And you look at them and you go, are you really like my spiritual brother and sister? Ultimately, all of humanity is, but I'm talking about Yoganandaji's family. And so you might see a lot of people come and go, but the ones who are actually part of this family, it will never feel too crowded. It's like when you've gone to Delhi and there's to one of the big spiritual events we have there, and it's just like, I don't know you, but I know I'm connected to you. There's that feeling. So if you ever do have those feelings come up, remember that. And to not live in the future of fear, but to live in the present moment of embracing new friends and family. And with new people, try and reach out. Try to get to know them. Try and understand there's not a limited amount. I only get to know 10 people, that's it. So just remember that, to a lot of these events, we're finding some new people are coming, and it's not for us to decide, yes, you're part of Master's family or not, but you'll find a pleasantly surprising result when you meet many of your spiritual family. It's just not the same as being lost in a crowd. It's just not the same. Even if it might feel that's happening when we have 80 people coming to a level 1, like, oh my God. But you see, Ananda has always been this way. My guess is all of Master's organizations. You might have a lot of people come to level 1, but a lot fewer always come to level 2. A lot fewer. In every single colony we have. Every single one. So don't start counting numbers. We had this many, our percentages are low. Oh my God, what's going to happen? But what you do notice is that the disciples who are coming are very genuine souls. And some people want to be part of spiritual families. Some people just come, get their Kriya, and go. But those who stick, you will find, it's as though it's a big puzzle. And everybody is a piece of that puzzle. And you need every piece. And the puzzle might get a little bit bigger, but there's still room to keep adding pieces. And each piece feels like it should be there. So think of it more in that way as we do have some expansion going on. And don't get worried about whether we're going to get too big and can't fit in this room anymore. We think about that also. But we might come up with some options in the future in a year or two. So live in the moment, live in the present. of the beautiful energy that everyone is generating here. Yesterday was such a beautiful day. Don't feel guilty if you can't come to everything. That's what happens, is we just keep having the events we have, and if you can come, great, and if you can't, that's fine too, and there's no guilt in any of that. So, but you can feel the joy in the room, can't you? There's a lot of joy, and it's a continuation. You know, it began at Deepavali, so it's not just the Christmas season; it's the season of lights, and having Kartigai Deepam is also fits in perfectly with just the season of light. Deepavali is the festival of lights also, so we have many festival of lights going on, and Christmas time is also a festival of light as well. So as we go into this season also, try and tune into the depth that is available to all of us, especially during this time. There's a depth that wants us to touch it. And so find yourself trying to be more quiet at times to touch into this. There's a veil that is thinner during this time where we can really feel God's presence even more deeply. So try and take advantage of this time when the veil is more open than usual. And of course we can always choose to pursue going through the veil, but take advantage of these times.